Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 167th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and this week is going to be all about chocolate lovers' adventures. Now, my youngest son, Christian, is a lover of chocolate. He has decided that he is going to have his own chocolate business one day to rival Hershey. And he has gotten me to make homemade chocolate with him. We've gone to the store, we've gotten all the ingredients, we've made it on the stove, we had our molds, and it was really a good chocolate bar. He's had some other chocolate bars recently that he has been trying out. I think Feastables is one that he's tried, and he's just going through trying different ones, comparing them with Hershey, comparing them with other upcoming chocolate makers, chocolatiers, and he was pleasantly surprised that the chocolate we made was good. I was too. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I kind of felt like Willy Wonka in our kitchen, and it actually looked like a chocolate bar, and I was like, that's half the battle, that it looks like chocolate. But you know how I am. I feel like if I have a hobby, then I'm going to find it to be an inspiration for my travel. If my children or my husband, so it's usually going to be my children, have hobbies or interest, special interest. That's unfair to suggest that Logan does not have interest. Logan is fascinated by all things Titanic. And the number of trips I've incorporated the Titanic into, you would be amazed. Like, you just shouldn't think that there could be so many trips that you can make the Titanic a part of, and we've managed to do that multiple times. So I take the interest to heart that my boys have, both my husband and my 13-year-old and my 8-year-old. But right now, Christian is going through a phase where chocolate is super important to him. So I'm taking this new inspiration and I'm letting it inspire me for our adventures for next year. And I'm going to share some of these with you because I've been learning a lot of new things about chocolate as a destination. Like if you love chocolate and how you can use that to inspire you. So where are we going and how are we going to incorporate chocolate, and what are some other locations that maybe if you're also a chocolate lover that maybe you haven't even considered are related to chocolate? And again, you can do this with any interest you have, and this is just going to be an example. Okay, first off, we are going to go to Puerto Rico and then take a 7-night cruise where we're going to some islands in the Southern Caribbean. Now, one of the islands is going to be the island of Grenada, which is a very tiny island. And in this tiny island, they have 5 chocolate makers. They also have a 9-day chocolate festival. So for being such a small location, this is like a chocolate island. It is known as the Spice Island. And when Logan and I went for the first time, I believe it was 2 years ago, maybe? Now it's been 2 years. When we went for his birthday, we actually went to a plantation where they grow the cacao, and we could see it from growing on a tree, breaking open the pods, taking the seeds out, watching the process of where they clean them, dry them. We walked on them where they then let them ferment and then turn them into chocolate where they make right there on property. It was a really cool experience. So I thought, we're going to Grenada on this cruise. I'm going to incorporate going to at least one of the chocolate makers, maybe even the one that Logan and I went to before, because it was amazing. And also there's monkeys that I didn't get to see because we went later in the day. So that's a reason for me to go back. So we can combine the chocolates, letting him see that chocolate doesn't just come in a bar. It doesn't just come in a powder, cocoa powder, as we know, but like letting them see what it looks like from beginning to end. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're doing that in January. I'll be sure to post a lot of pictures. The next place, and if you think chocolate, and you think the U.S., you're probably thinking Hershey, Pennsylvania. Now, I have been here one time. Logan and I went for our 4th anniversary. And when I say the streets smell like chocolate, that is no exaggeration. The lampposts have Hershey Kisses on the top. I mean, it is magical. It is as close to Willy Wonka in the U.S. as I feel like you can get. There's Hershey Park, which is a theme park, kind of like Dollywood or Silver Dollar City. So the boys are very excited about that. We're going to stay right next door to Hershey Park. There's Hershey World, and then there's a Hershey Museum. So these are 2 different places besides the park, or you can go to the museum. Then there's another part where you can go and here's a fun fact. I told you all the different ways that you can incorporate the Titanic in trips. Milton Hershey had a ticket for the Titanic, and he was supposed to be on the Titanic, but because I believe his wife got sick, he had to leave early and took a different ship, so he wasn't on it. So there's a random connection there. There's also the Hershey Hotel, and when I say it's most fascinating massage spa experience I've ever had, they had chocolate in the spa rooms. I had a chocolate massage, and it's as wonderful as it sounds. They also have a restaurant, and I'm going to look into eating at the restaurant because, of course, it's going to have lots of chocolate incorporated in it. But if they have a high tea and I can incorporate chocolate and high tea in this experience, I'm going to do it because I don't think the boys are going to let me slip off to go have a massage. But they'll join me for a chocolate high tea, I'm sure. So we're going to have an entire chocolate experience in Hershey. Oh, the other thing is you can go and you can make your own candy bars. They have where you can see a factory tour where it's a ride. And I remember doing that from years ago, from like 14 years ago. I still remember making our own chocolate, sampling the chocolate. You know, you get to sample the hot chocolate and talk about how the Mayans made the chocolate and how to them it was worth, more than gold. So I think that's going to be a really fun educational experience. Okay. And lastly, we're going to go to Kauai, Hawaii, the Garden Isle of Hawaii. Hawaii is the only U.S. state where cacao production is possible. So Guam, Puerto Rico, you can have cacao production, but that's not a U.S. state. They're territories. So Hawaii has over a dozen chocolate makers. Plantation tours are available on 4 of the 6 most popular islands, including Kauai. Okay, some other things I wanted to share with you. Other destinations. South America, Peru and Ecuador are 2 of the front runners for chocolate lovers. In Europe, you have Belgium, Switzerland, and France, right? You can't think of Paris without thinking of the hot chocolate there. But there are other cities, London and Amsterdam. Amsterdam may be the best chocolate city in Europe. The Netherlands imports the 2nd most cacao of any country in the world. Can you guess what number 1 is? I'm sure you thought the U.S., and if you did, you were correct. So the U.S. is number 1. Amsterdam, the Netherlands would be number 2. Here's one that surprised me. Africa produces more than 1/2 of the world's cacao. I thought this was fascinating. So really, and there's different places in Asia that are now like incorporating a lot more chocolate in your travels there. So here's what's interesting. Just about anywhere in the world, you can find a connection now with chocolate. So you can take an interest of your children, in this case chocolate, or an interest of your spouse, and you can use that not as your entire trip necessarily. Like our Hershey trip, that's going to be our entire trip when we're there, is going to be chocolate focused. But there's going to be a lot of history there too. We will most definitely go to Gettysburg while we're there because it's only, I believe, an hour and a half away. So there's going to be history. There's going to be other things we incorporate. But in Hershey, Pennsylvania, everything is going to be about the chocolate. But you can take a large part of the trip or a small part of your trip where you're doing an excursion or an activity. Or maybe you're going to a restaurant that features something specific that your family members have been very excited about. You can find ways to incorporate your interests and your hobbies, whether it's chocolate, and if you're a chocolate lover like Christian and myself, then maybe this has inspired you for some other chocolate-loving adventures. That's all the time we have for this week's episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. I hope it was extra sweet for you today. Wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, life is a great adventure. Take the trip. You won't regret it. Tune in every Monday at 11 a.m. to turn your travel dreams into travel plans. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for an interview or for access to this interview, go to our website, shark1023.com, and click on the podcast tab. This interview can also be found on Apple, Google, and Amazon Podcast. Keep it tuned to the Shark 1023 and start planning your next trip.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.